Hello everyone, welcome back to this series on React development. We are on the fifth part of this video series. So in this video, we'll be learning what are props and how can we reuse them to optimize our code. So let's get started. So up till now, we have converted this Bootstrap template to a React project. So we have already created these React components here. So what if we wanted to pass some data inside of this title card so that we can display a custom title? How can we do that? What we can simply do is we can just type in any variable that we want. Let's say title. Now, this can be anything, whatever you want to pass. So it can be title, name, etc., whatever you want to name. But make sure it is relevant. So here, as a value for this title, what we can send is a string or number. We can directly pass in string to this variable, or what we can do is we can use curly braces to pass in objects, numbers, boolean values, or even strings. So here what I'll do is we will just pass in a simple text. I'll just type in this is the new title and then I'll hit on save by pressing Ctrl and S. Now if we go back, we don't see any changes. That is because once we pass in this title, we'll have to use this in our actual title card component. So I'll go to the title card. So how can we access the title property given to us by app like this? For that, we'll have to access another feature of React that is called props. So how can we use props? We can simply receive it as a function parameter here. Inside of this prop, we'll get all the variables that we have provided here. So I'll go back to title card, and how can we use the title property from this props? Simply I'll just delete this, as we will replace this with the title that we are providing in, and I'll just add in curly braces and then I'll type in props dot title. Now what it means is that from the props we want to access the title property, and this curly brace means we are trying to access a variable and not typing in plain text. If we type anything outside of this curly brace, it is a text, but inside this curly brace it is actually a variable. So I'll just save this. Now if I go back, we can see this is the new title. So this is how we pass data from a parent to its child. By parent, I mean app.js is the parent, as the title card resides inside of app.js and title card is the child of the app function. Now how can we use this to optimize our code? If we go to this smallcards.js, we can see the same code is repeated twice here. That denotes these two small cards. Here if we see, we have a category that is world and design, a title that is featured post and post title, a date and some content, and then we have a hyperlink for continue reading, and then a thumbnail. So the structure is the same, but only the data is changed. So we can leverage props to optimize our code so that we'll have to write less code. So let's do that. Now I'll go back. I'll just go back to app.js, and here I'll just type in const data equals to an array. Now, for those who don't know what const is, it makes sure that data remains constant. That is, we cannot change the data variable during the runtime of our project. So now inside of this, I'll create one object wherein I'll type in title and then I'll leave it blank for now. Description, date, thumbnail, and category. Now I'll copy this and again paste it in here as we have two cards. So now I'll go to the small card.js and then copy this title. I'll paste it in here and then I'll go back and just within a curly brace I'll type in props dot title and just add in prop here, props. Okay, now I'll just copy this and just type it here and then I'll change this to props dot category and I'll just cut this and go back to the app.js and inside of category I'll paste this here. Now I'll again go to small cards and I'll copy this, I'll paste it in here and then props.date. Now I'll just cut this and go to app.js and paste it in here. Similarly, I'll also replace the description and thumbnail. So I'll go to the small cards and I'll just cut this props.description and come here and I'll just paste it in here. Like this. So for thumbnail, what we can see is it's just a rectangle with a color of gray, so we don't need the thumbnail property. So I'll just go back to app.js and just remove this thumbnail property as it is not required. Now I'll do the same thing for the second object as I did for the first one. So I'll go to small cards and just cut this and go to app.js and paste it in category and then again go back, cut this and go back to app.js and just paste it in here and then again go back, cut this, come back here and just paste it in here and then I'll just cut this and go back to app.js and just paste it in here. Now if I save this, we can see both the content has been lost. So how can we recover this? Now we have the small card component here. Now what we can do is we can just pass in data equals to inside and curly brace data. Remember I told you we can pass anything inside of this property. So I passed in an array of objects. So now if I go to small cards, now here if I just console log props and save and then I just go back to the browser and then inspect this page and go to console. You can just ignore these warnings for now and here we can see small cards 9 we have an object. Now inside of this object we have the data variable inside of which we have the details that we provided. Now here we can see that it's from small card 9 it just cannot determine the line number properly, but it's coming from this console log here. If I just comment out and save and go back and refresh, we'll see we don't have the comment there. So now we are confirmed that the props has the data. Now what we'll do is, if you see, this is the component that is getting repeated. So what I'll do is, I'll just type in a curly brace, and inside of which I'll just type in props dot data, and I'll use a function here that is map. What this map function does is, it will loop through the data that is an array and provide all its values iteratively as a parameter. I'll just name it val, and then I'll just do an arrow function, and then I'll type in another curly braces, and then what I'll do is, I'll just select all this up to here, and then I'll just type in return, and then I'll paste it in here, and I'll just remove this part to here. Now if I save, we can see nothing really changed. We still don't have the data, and we also got an warning that says each child in a list should have a unique key prop. So what this means is that whenever we use a loop to return HTML elements, we'll need to provide in a key property on the topmost element, that is this div. So I'll just pass in a key, and the value for this will be given to us from this map function only. So I'll just type in I, and then I'll pass in here. Now this I is the index of the array at which it is currently at. So we'll provide this as a key to this value. So why is this key needed in React? When React renders the template, it needs to know where the data has been updated. It asks the developers to add this key property so that it can recognize which part of the content has been changed, so that it can re-render it. So now what we'll do is, we'll just replace this props.category to val.category, and then val.title, val.date, val.description, and nothing else is there. So I'll just save this. Now if we go back and refresh, we can see we didn't get any other warning. This is just from the Chrome extension that I have, so we can just ignore this. And now if you see, we have the data back, but now it's coming from the data that we passed in from the app.js. But one thing if you have noticed is that the color for these two are same now, but it was different in the actual template. To verify this, I'll just go to getbootstrap.com and then go to examples, and then open the blog template, this one. So here we can see it is green and this one is blue, but here we have both the color as blue. So how can we fix this? Now if I go back to VS Code, here we can see that there's a class that is text primary. Now if you know Bootstrap, you must definitely know this, that text primary is used to denote blue color of the text. So now what we'll do is, we'll have to dynamically change this class name so that we can have different color for different cards. So what I'll do is, I'll just cut this. Now I'll convert this from a string to a variable and just add in a space here, and then concatenate with val.color class. Now what I did here is that for the class name property on this HTML tag, I just put in a simple class, whatever we had previously, and then I just concatenated this val.color class to this string here. Now what we'll do is, we'll come back to app.js, and inside of this data array, we'll just add in a color class property here and then just paste it in here. Now, this one denotes the blue color, so I'll just copy this and paste it in here, and then I'll just type in text success. The text success class changes the color to green. So now if I save this and go back, we can see this one is blue and this one is green. Now let's recap this. What actually happened is we created an array of objects with all the data here, and then inside of small guards we just passed in the data that we created, that is this array of objects, as data. Now inside this small card.js we received the data as props. Then we use the map function to loop through each object inside of that data property inside of the data array. Then we got each object as the val property and I as the index. We provided the I to the key so that React knows if the template is re-rendered. Then what we did was we used the val property to add in the category, the title, date and description. Also, we converted the class name from a simple text to a variable where we concatenated the existing class with another string that we are getting from the val object, which is inside of the data array. So what was the point of doing this? You can see we just reduced the code of this file to half. You can see we just need the code for one card to render as many cards as we want by providing in data as prop. So this is it for this video. In the next video, we'll be learning about what is use state and how can we use it. So stay tuned, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to not miss an update. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.